Marissa.
Are we up? Hello, everyone. Just checking in. If we are live or not, let me confirm.
Yes, we're live.
Okay, sweet. Thanks for confirming. All right. Hi, everyone. We're just gonna take a minute or two to start. All right, we're gonna start within a minute. All right, let's start. All right, welcome everyone to our second class of the 3-day web development workshop. I'm your host, Siam. I'll be basically moderating today's event. You guys have probably seen me in the emails and probably in the Slack channel. So nice meeting all of you guys. Let me just share my screen. All right, I think my screen is visible. Right. Cool. Okay, so today is the day 2 of your 3-day workshop on web development with HTML, Angular, and AWS. Today we are going to talk about how to host your web application on AWS. AWS is Amazon Web Services, which is, I would say, like one of the biggest project Amazon owns. It's the biggest cloud service provider. And in the recent times, a lot of full stack developers are actually expected to be good in deploying apps. So this is the topic which was requested to us by many of our previous participants. So yeah, so this is what we're going to discuss. Before I start, I'll just kind of like go through the experience so far. Actually, maybe I can share my Slack. Like the first thing which we observed from last week is that within just a week, our Slack channel, which is skillbuildingworkshops.slack.com, that one within a week, we have like, it completely blew up right now. I think there are like 457 like members right now over there. And from yesterday, like the main thing which we are observing is that like there are a lot of problems. Obviously, everyone students are facing like some kind of bugs or some kind of problem while they're solving the homeworks. But the best thing which we observe is if you look at the Slack thread, is that like people are not even waiting for like minutes to jump to solve someone else's problem. So so this is I would say like the primary reason for us kind of like to start Get Me Hired is the sense of community. When you are in a community, like this is just amazing, like the amount of homeworks being submitted, and especially the fact that like people are just jumping into like helping each other. That's what happens when you're in a community. So I'll just kind of like go to the slide back again. So yeah, so I'll start kind of like the basics of why we're doing all these things. Most of us, the mentors who you will see taking these workshops we came basically as immigrants, or we came to like foreign countries, and the way we survived this, like this new surviving in a foreign country is uh, by like we had a lot of struggle, but we survived by staying together, staying within a community. Many of us, which is like true for everyone, has like goals. Like we have financial goals, like it could be financial freedom, it could be like autonomy or independence in life, it could be better lifestyle, whatever it is. I'm sure that almost all of us will achieve this goal, but and it's completely possible to achieve these goals individually. There is nothing wrong in doing that, but like we personally believe that if you achieve a goal together with a community, then this is a great opportunity to make friends. And I think that's what makes this whole journey very special. So this is something we learned just by going through life. I'm sure that all of you guys like are part of some kind of community, and you share some kind of struggle together. So this is like our, I would say, like core learning, I would say, like as people, and we just wanted to bring that learning, and we just took that learning and basically started Get Me Hired. So that's kind of like why we started Get Me Hired. The core, you can say, is like build something and win together. So that's kind of like the basics. Now, why this workshop? I'll share like a personal story, and we'll jump right into the workshop. So I actually wasn't from a computer science background. I studied engineering, but then like for making money and stuff, I was working in a gyro stand. Are you guys like? I'm sure that a lot of guys here are from New York. Like, have you guys seen gyro stands? Like gyro shops, like halal. Oh, I think those are called like halal carts. So I'm sure that you guys have seen that, right? So what I did is that like I used to for those halal carts, there are like freezers, like you have to pack all this halal meat in the freezer for the whole night, and this is like a completely like physical labor work, right? So I used to like get all this heavy stuff, put it in the freezer, and like I was just like basically like laboring physical. I was putting laboring, just like moving those halal meats. And I remember like I used to work like 10-hour, 12 hours days, like straight 10-hour days. And I was so happy after working for 10-hour days, like getting $60. I don't even know that if it is legal to share this in a YouTube channel on public live, but I was getting like paid under, like under minimum wage, because I was an immigrant. Uh, like no one cares about, like getting underpaying immigrants. So I was working 10 hours days, making $60 in a day. So somehow I kind of like bump into like a community of like iPhone app developers. It was back in 2012. And I was lucky to get into like a community like that, like kind of like a boot camp. And I found a mentor who taught me just how to build iPhone apps. So within 6 months of getting into that process, I landed a job, I think like within 6 to 7 months. And 3 years later, from that halal cart day, I was making around like 140K per year. This was like 3-4 years back. And I calculated it's something like 60 to $70 per hour. So what I realized is that in just 3 years, I was making the same amount of money I was in an hour, which I used to make in a whole day. So I was like, wow, this is this is crazy. And this whole thing happened because I got into software. And we personally, all of us, many of our mentors are actually not from programming background. They're like from different types of background. And software is the only, I would say, like only skill where you don't really need, I would say, like academic or university education, but you can still break into the system. So so the primary reason for us to do this workshop is just to inspire everyone. It's not possible to, within like 3-day workshop, like make them like a hardcore programmer. The primary goal of this workshop is just to inspire you so that you can build something and feel the sense of a community doing something together, which we are seeing in just like 1 or 2 days. You guys are already experiencing it. And just once you are inspired, you can go online and find all the resources to be successful. So yeah, that's kind of like the story on why we are doing this workshop. For those who have not joined yesterday, I'll just go through the details and I'll just jump into Saqib's session. So yeah, like well, the class will be 90 minutes long with a 30 minutes Q&A session. You can definitely ask your questions in YouTube chat or Slack. You can watch the video recording later. You'll be, after this class, we'll be giving you homework. And those who ends this whole thing, homework within a timeline, will give you a certificate. I know that certificate really doesn't have a unique value, but there is a motivational value of achieving something. So, so today's instructor is Saqibul Hasan, who is a senior cloud architect at Equifax. And Saqib is also the CTO of Get Me Hired, so he can talk a little bit more. And then how to get the best out of the workshop. So yeah, like just find a quiet place. Definitely do not. We have seen yesterday that a lot of people are trying to co-program. Don't try to do that because it's just becomes too hard. These are squeezed, jam-packed classes. So just watch the video, take notes in a pen and paper. If not, then write it in a notepad. Just take notes, ask questions, do the homework, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I will land my ball to Saqib now. So I'll stop share my screen. And Saqib, welcome. The chair is all yours. Iftikhar's name changed to Iftakhar yesterday. So I don't know what will happen to your name, but good luck, man.
No, I don't want to change my name. That's why I swear to God, like I'm not gonna pronounce that tag word for once.
Okay. We'll find a way to name you something.
Cool. Thank you, Siam, for a nice introduction. And it's really amazing. Actually, I heard your story earlier, but it's really amazing to actually hear your story again and again. You were a hustler, man. I mean, like you were like you were a motivation to a lot of people actually. So yeah, it's really great to hear your story. So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us today. Today is the second day of our bootcamp. I'm Saqibul Hasan. I'm working in the Equifax right now, which you might have known for a lot of incident, like it got hacked 2 years ago. That's why I'm here, by the way, to fix so that there is no this kind of issue. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm working here as a senior cloud architect. So we use a lot of cloud technologies. So that's why it's a very popular nowadays. And yeah, and today's class is all about cloud. So yeah, it's cloud on my t-shirt as well. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let me share my screen real quick. Okay. There you go. Can you see my screen, Siam?
I can see it, but let me confirm that YouTube is seeing or not. But yeah, I think you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, great. So yeah, today's class is basically, you guys have actually seen on the first class how to build an application. Basically, you guys build a portfolio application using Angular framework. though this is as if they said is you don't need to actually use Angular application to build a portfolio application. You can just use simply like any kind of JS framework like Bootstrap and just build it like right away. But the reason why we actually chose a very simple application so that we can actually give you some kind of idea how to build an application in Angular and what are the facilities that Angular have. But those are basically very few actually feature of the Angular. Angular has a lot of stuffs to cover. So yeah, that's so as you have built the Angular application yesterday. So today our goal is to actually host the application in AWS. So saying that, so our end goal or end game, you can call it, and this is basically launch the site into an IP address, which would be some because that's the server's IP address, and yeah, who doesn't want to kill Thanos, right? We'll kill Thanos at the end as well. Cool. So yeah, so at first let's talk about a little bit more about this buzzword cloud. So what is cloud? Why it is so much popular nowadays? Like we need to know what's the history of cloud, right? So long ago, I mean, not million years ago, definitely, you can call it 10 years, 15 years. So people used to use servers, like very big servers. You guys know IBM, right? So IBM has like big machines. They have big computers. They used to sell it for like thousands of dollars. And like what you have to do, you have to buy the server. Literally, you have to buy the server, and you have to like maintain an environment which will be like a cold and it has to be like a cold and there shouldn't be any kind of dust on there. So it has to be maintained in very good environment, right? And if you need to actually add additional new server, what you have to do, you have to basically order another server which is gonna go through the order procedure, and to add a new server you basically have to wait like maybe from 2 weeks to 2 months. You never know. So so this is the hassle, this is hassle because if you want to, you might need a new server, or maybe you might need that server for like 5 days or 1 week. You don't know. Maybe for 2 hours. After the 2 hours, you don't need anymore. You may need some extra power to run some extra job, right? But then after that, you may not need that. So, but you cannot do that because once you need that, I mean, you have to like either use it or just leave it there, right? So to solve this problem, there comes there comes a solution. Like there comes the solution is called VM. So servers, what are the servers? Servers are basically some Linux box. Linux is an operating system, just like the like Windows. So it could be Linux box, it could be Windows server. There's some after Linux got popular, Windows make their own server. So there's several servers actually. So those physical server, as it got popular, then there comes the concept of virtual server. So what happened in the virtual server? You don't need to actually buy a machine actually. So what you can do, you can actually rent a space in a data center. So instead of actually buying a server, what happened in data center, you can like rent some machine or so, or rent some instance over there, and then you can build your own thing over there. So there comes this. Some companies called Rackspace and other company which got very popular for this virtual server, but those are also expensive. So while this kind of virtual server concept comes in, like when you can actually like add those things kind of on the fly, then there comes the Amazon. So Amazon actually introduced the AWS, I think back in 2006. They first introduced the first system. So they kind of give you the facility. You can actually add new virtual server on the fly, and you can delete it whenever you don't need it. So that was a great thing for the developers or the system admin, because sometimes you need to add some more server to actually add some more power, more processing power, right? But sometimes you may not need some. I mean, you may not need those. So you have to remove those things, and you don't want to pay for those extra power on that time. So Amazon actually give you those those facility. Like you can actually add like processing power, so like, or like add those VMs, virtual server, or you can, call it the VM means virtual machine, on the fly. And whenever you don't need that, you can just remove this thing so that you don't have to pay for that thing. So yeah, that then it becomes very popular. And if you have a look on on the chart actually, so the growth is, in 2015, like 4.3% people were using cloud. So nowadays, is actually 11.3% of the whole world is kind of using the cloud, and it's expecting, is this growing, it's keep growing. This is amazing. I mean, there are lots of like player in the market right now. There's Amazon. Amazon is the top player, and then there is like Azure is there. Then Google Cloud is there. Then IBM has their own cloud platform, and there's Alibaba. So yeah, there's basically several cloud providers are there. So this is, so if you have a look on the, so this is the current scenario of the market share. So if you see, like Amazon, like in 2016, Amazon was actually holding like 35% of the whole market share, and right now they are actually in the 47%, which is the highest. And their the closest contender is actually Azure, which is by Microsoft, and they're right now at 22%. Google and Alibaba are kind of like a neck to neck. There's 8 and 7%. Though Google's platform is really good, but as they started late, that's why it's start to catch up. And Amazon is right now huge, but they're going really big. So now the question is, why AWS, right? So we have talked about cloud and other services. So why AWS? Why we chose to actually teach AWS for this workshop, and also in our bootcamp, why do we actually teach AWS? So the first reason, what I have already mentioned, is this: it's the fastest growing public cloud on the planet. I mean, that's I mean, if you have a look on the previous chart, that's actually still growing, and this is actually still that, like, nobody is close actually. So, and then the hyper growth, very safe industry to be in. So the growth is very high, and as everyone is actually chipping into this platform, so you are very safe to actually get into this environment. And fantastic pay, lots of fun. So what does this mean actually? So I have a friend who doesn't have any undergrad degree, who doesn't have actually any kind of sorry, who doesn't have any undergrad degree in computer science. He's from mechanical, and he actually finished some certificate, which I'm gonna show you on the next slide. And right now he's actually earning more than 100K per year. So yeah, see, this is like just he just did 3 certificate of Amazon, and now he's in the market for like he's in the market for like 3 or 4 years, and now his pay rate is more than 100K. So yeah, that's the main reason. I mean, yeah, who doesn't love money, right? Okay. So yeah, so not as complicated as you might think. So that means this is basically another tool. You just need to use how this tool, like how this thing works. You just need to know like some terminology. Like Amazon has a lots of services. You just need to like get an idea like what are the services they have and how do you want to use it. So you don't need much coding experience as well. And yeah, no prior experience necessary. So if you can actually start the AWS associate exams preparation without having any experience on anything. Like you can just literally start it right away. And the main thing is actually the revenue. So if you have a look on the chart, so from in 2014, it was earning like 100,000, sorry, 1,000 million dollar on Q1 quarter 1, but right now it's like more than 8 times higher. So yeah, the revenue is keep growing on AWS, and people are keep using their actually the platform. And one, so you guys, so lots of you are using Netflix, right? So so Netflix is hosted in AWS. That's the biggest client so far. So yeah, this is the main reason why you should actually choose AWS. So this is the list. In this picture, you are basically seeing a list of all the certification that AWS provide. So as I told you, my friend, he actually did these three certification: this AWS certified solution architect, AWS certified system sysops administrator associate, AWS certified developer associate. So these three. So the interesting thing is that among these three certificate, 20%, like 80% course content are similar. So these are varying by 20% extra learning. So if you I suggest, actually everyone suggests to actually to do this solution architect associate exam at first, because this will give you a really good idea about Amazon's Amazon, just a second. Amazon's Amazon's all the services in an overall, and then you have to learn basically 20% more in operation for the sysops, and then another 20% for the developer. So in our bootcamp, we basically we teach all of these three courses. So we start with this one, and then we also go for the other two. So in our bootcamp we have each of the course is actually 2 month span. So we train you up for like for the solution architect for 2 months, and then we actually help you to actually finish the mock test. We have our group study session. We have our group session for actually finishing the homework and other stuff. And then at the end, we actually we actually help you to actually appear on the exam, because the exam is actually, the exam costs you $150 and to actually appear the exam. And I believe like this is the most fruitful way to spend $150 for your career. So yeah, so saying that, so let's go to the next slide. So that's so far. So we have seen. So this is how. So far we have seen like how. So what is that AWS is actually good. How AWS is helpful. So now what you have to do, you have to actually create an AWS account first, right? Because that's the first step. Cool. So let's go back to the browser, which is this one. So I am already logged in. I'm just gonna log out from my AWS account. Okay. So if you just search for in the Google Amazon AWS, then you will see there is a first link is showing here, aws.amazon.com. If you click on there, and then it is asking you to sign in the control. Okay, sign into the console. So if you click on the sign into the console, it will take you to the login page. And as you don't have any account, so what you have to do, you have to click create a new AWS account. So here you see it says AWS account include 12 months of free tier access. So what does this mean? This means some of the services of AWS are free for 1 whole year. Like what we're going to do today is actually host the application what Iftekhar built yesterday into a VM. So which is VM, as I told, like VM is provided by AWS, right? So for AWS free tier, one VM and a special class. So they have several class of VM. So there is a class called T2 Micro. That VM is free. One VM is free for a whole 1 year. So you can actually make that VM up and running for 1 whole year, and you will not be built into your credit card, nothing. Okay. So it's pretty simple. You just have to provide your email address, password, confirm password, and AWS account name, what you want to have it. Okay. And then if you click on the continue, then on the next page, it will ask for your billing information. So you have to provide your credit card and the information. Don't be afraid, Amazon is pretty much safe, and the security is good. And if it is not, you can blame Iftekhar. he knows best. And yeah, so after you put this information, then you can actually you will create an account, and sometime it might take some time to verify your account, like 24 hours, but it shouldn't actually. It should be fast. It should be very fast. But if you have any issue, try to contact the support. It should be taken care of. Very easy. So I'm not gonna do the steps because these are pretty basic steps how to create an account. You can do it by following the continue button. So I'm assuming the account creation is done, and so now we're gonna log into the account. Okay. So let's get back to our login page. So cool. So in the login page, we're gonna actually log into our account. We have an email address for that, and we have a password, which I'm gonna share. And there you go. I'm getting in. Cool. See, I'm now inside the AWS console. So in the console, you can see there is a bar on the top, and in the bar you have a support on the top right. If you click on that, there are some support links, the documentation, forum, support center, training, and other resources. And on the top left, there is a link called services. So if you click on the services, you'll see there are lots of services that Amazon is providing. See? So this is all the services what Amazon is actually providing. So these services are categorized based on the type. So this type is called compute. This is storage. This is database. And then there's migration and transfer. There is one called networking, I believe. And there is also for machine learning as well. There's a developer tools. There's some tool for mobile development. There's a VR stuff. There's a game development, internet IoT, Internet of Things. You might have heard a lot about these terms actually. So what we will see today is we will actually use EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Computing Cloud, ECC. So that comes from there. EC2 comes from Elastic Computing Cloud. So Elastic Computing Cloud is nothing but just a VM. So you can create your own VM by going to EC2. Okay. So it's basically so what we will do, we will see like so what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually create an EC2 instance, and then we will host the application what Iftekhar created yesterday into that EC2 server. Okay. So this is gonna be our focus for today's class. That's it. We will create one VM, and then we will host the application into the server. And that server, when we create the server, that server will be automatically assigned a public IP address. So public IP address is the number 4-digit that I showed on the slide. On some page, this one. So it's gonna be number 4-digit dot with dot. Then we're gonna hit that IP address, and then it will show like Iftikhar's site. So yeah, let's see. Before going there, okay, let's have a look some other thing in the AWS console. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So now if you see this on the right side, this is our name is showing. Get Me Hired is our company account, and if you click on that, you will see there's some stuff like there's a billing dashboard. So if you click on the billing dashboard, you can actually see your billing information, like how much you have billed so far and other stuff. So if you see, we have billed like for $7. We have some credit that we're using. So yeah, you can see all of your billing over here, and you can also create some alert over here by going to the billing alerts. I'm not going to show this thing because that's not quite for this workshop. So yeah, and then if you actually go back to where we came from, so see this is so billing. So let's go back to our over here. So now beside our name, you see there is a place called it's called Oregon, right? And there is other stuff, other places like North Virginia, Ohio, North California, Hong Kong, Mumbai, Seoul, Singapore, Sydney, Tokyo, right? These are, so this is all they call it region. So let's have a look what is a region is. So if you're seeing the on my slide, so AWS is actually divided based on the locations. So their their first group is called region. So what is a region? A region is a physical location in the world which consists of two or more availability zone. So region is kind of, if you can think about like a continent. So continent is kind of for AWS case, it can relate region as a continent. So they have some, it's not continent, but like in USA they have several regions, but this is their biggest block actually. So they divide this into region, and in the region they have several availability zones, some other small pieces like some they like it consists of several data center. So what is an availability zone? An availability zone is one or more discrete data center, each with redundant power, networking, and connectivity, housed in separate facilities. That's what I say. So they actually accumulate some uh, data center, and they call it an availability zone. And then there comes the term of edge location. So what is an edge location? An edge location are endpoints for AWS which are used for caching content. Typically, this consists of CloudFront, Amazon's content delivery network. So under each availability zone, there are several edge location, which is basically it is used to cache the content so that if a resource is being requested, AWS actually cache that request so that like if any other user is requesting for the same resource, that could be served from the edge location. So you don't have to like go through like a dig deeper. So yeah, that's basically a high level overview of the AWS locations. So yeah, so this is the picture of the AWS location right now. We can see the like in 2018 we had AWS had like 19 region and 57 availability zone. In 2019 they added 5 more region and 15 more availability zone. Cool. So now what we're gonna do actually today. Uh, so these are the steps that we're gonna follow today. At first, as I told you, we're gonna run an EC2 install. Or before doing that, if you are facing any problem with anything, like if you're not understanding any term, any specific term, because uh, lots of you are new actually to this course. So if you're having any issue, just ask this question on the YouTube channel or in the Slack. We will answer this question at the end of the class. Cool. Uh, uh, so what's going to happen like in today's class so we're going to actually run an EC2 instance, and then we will actually configure two applications. So one is Putty and another one is FileZilla. So Putty, what is a Putty? So Putty is actually an SSH client. SSH is actually another tool, or you can call it a tool. So you can actually connect to a server or like a machine via some specific port. So SSH actually use port number 22. So you connect to actually via a port, and you have seen yesterday Iftikhar was writing some command on the command prompt, right? So on the command line, or in the Mac is called terminal, right? So if you want to run that kind of command prompt on that machine, like suppose Iftikhar's machine is a server, and I want to run that same command on his machine. So then what I have to do, I have to SSH into his machine, and then when I type this command into my terminal, it will actually execute on his machine. So that is what SSH is. So what we're going to do, we're going to actually run a VM in AWS. So the VM is hosted in the AWS. So we have an SSH tool on my machine. So using that SSH client, which is Putty, we will actually connect to the AWS server, and the command what we will type on my machine, it will be executed into the AWS machine. That is what the Putty is for. And we're gonna use the FileZilla to actually upload the files. What Iftikhar provided me actually. So one interesting thing is that in ideal case we should use a source control management like GitHub or Bitbucket or like GitLab or something like that to actually to manage our source code so that we don't, so it will be easy to actually share the code. But in this case, we want to make this course, make this workshop very simple and very optimal, because lots of you are actually beginner level, so wouldn't want to introduce too many terms so that you guys get confused. So that is why what Iftekhar did, he actually put all of his code into this USB drive, and he tied this USB drive into a pigeon's leg and flew that pigeon, and the pigeon gave it to me. So that I think that was the easiest way to get the code. So yeah, it took me like half an hour, I guess, to get the code by a pigeon. So yeah, I'm just kidding. I think you guys have got it. So yeah, we didn't use the pigeon. We actually use a drone. Yeah, we actually use a drone, and that drone gave it to us. Okay, just kidding. We got the code via email. So if they can email me the code, and I'm gonna use the code actually. I'm gonna put the code into the AWS server, and we will see from there. So cool. So now we got what is a Putty and what is a FileZilla, right? So now we're gonna install NGINX. So what is an NGINX? So NGINX is actually the web server. So now we have Iftekhar's code, right? That dist folder. So as you had, I believe you guys remember yesterday, the last step what Iftekhar did is actually he ran a command like ng build dash dash prod. So when he ran the command, it actually created a folder called dist into his source code, right? So that dist is basically the compiled version, the zip version, the compressed version of all of his source codes. And then what he did, he sent that file to me, right? So now if we need to host that code into some server, we need an application where we will put that code, and that application will host it on that server. So that is the application, which is NGINX. So NGINX is an web server. So there are some other servers like Apache is another one, there's Tomcat is another server. So for simplicity case, we're gonna use NGINX. Cool. And then after we install the NGINX, on the fourth step, we're gonna upload the dist folder into the NGINX. And then on the fifth step, I'll show you what happened when we create a VM. It automatically got assigned a public IP, but what we're gonna do, that public IP is actually assigned to that server, but sometimes it got changed. So we will actually see on the fifth step how we can fix this issue. Cool. So saying that, let's go to our server. Okay, where is our server? Okay, so for that, at first, let's change our region. So we're gonna actually choose the region Canada, because I live in Canada. Okay, so yeah, so we chose the Canada region, and then if we go to services and EC2, so now this is gonna show us 0 running instances. So instances is actually the VM instances. That's what it's referring. So because we haven't yet run any VM instances, that's why it's saying there is no running instances there. So cool. So now let's so below that there is a button called launch instance. So this is the button what we're gonna use to actually launch a VM, to launch a virtual machine in the AWS EC2. Okay, cool. So let's click on that. Cool. So now we click on that. So now you see there are lots of operating systems are listed. So VM is what? VM is actually a machine, like a Windows machine or like a Linux machine. You can have a machine, right? So for each of the machine, what do we need? We need an operating system. Without operating system, we cannot run a computer, right? So that's why we need to choose which operating system we're gonna pick for our VM. So there are several. So AWS support several operating system. Basically, we're going to choose operating system, and they're going to give us a pre-built image what we can use to launch that server. So for our case, we're going to actually choose the Ubuntu server 18.04 LTS, because this is the Linux server, and you can easily install NGINX using this this OS. So we're gonna select this one. And now here comes the thing. So see, there is a list of all the EC2 types. So these are like different types of EC2. And this starts from T2 nano, T2 micro, T2 small, T2 other lots of thing, medium, large, extra large. There's T series is the regular series. There's another R series is for the RAM intensive series. M series is a mediocre. There are like several type, like based on your need. You can see like the CPU. There's like say if you see on the list, there's like it shows how many CPUs are there, and for this one how many RAMs are there. So you can choose based on your need. For us, because we want to have this thing as a free. Second, light is back. Okay, so T2 micro. So T2 micro is the one because this is free tier eligible. That's what I told you earlier at the beginning. We want to actually make this whole thing free for 1 year, right? That's why, and this is selected by default as well. And we're just gonna keep it like this. So we're gonna use this one. Cool. And then we're gonna see configure next configure instance detail. Click on that, and for our case, like we don't want to touch anything because those are like advanced level stuff. In our bootcamp, we will show you like what is the network, what is subnet, what are the VPC. But now we will just leave it as is. We will not touch anything. Just leave everything as is. And then we click on the add storage. And here you basically tell how much space you want to give your hard disks. And for us, we're not gonna use it's a very small application, so we're just gonna leave it as is, like 8 GB is good enough. And then we click on the add tags. So tags are basically kind of like a name, so we're gonna give it a name so we can easily understand like find out this server on the EC2 panel. So we're gonna click and say the tag is name, and we're gonna call it like 3-day bootcamp. That's it. And then next, security group. So security group is really important. So security group is basically the port number. See, I told you about the SSH client, right? So we're gonna actually run a Putty from my local machine, and this will connect to the server's 22 port because that's the default port for the SSH. So see, that's why it is actually by default showing the SSH port. SSH is added for that security group. Okay, so that we can actually add this thing. So other than that, we want to also host Iftekar's application into our server, right? And to access the server, other like people will use a browser, and browser will hit that server's IP address, and that will be hit on the HTTP port. So HTTP port is actually port 80. So we have to add that port into the for the server. So in the add rule, we click on the add rule, and from the drop down, you will see there is a thing called HTTP. If you just select, then we will see is by default 80 is being selected. And source, in the source, we want to click on the source, and we will select anywhere. So we're picking anywhere because we want everyone to actually access this site from outside as a HTTP port, because that's why we're choosing everywhere. Sorry, anywhere. So source means the request can come from anywhere. Cool. So now let's click on the review and launch, and it's gonna give you like a brief information. Okay, so like what we have done so far, all of the information are here, and then we click on the launch. So now there's an interesting thing. So when we click on the launch, it is saying, do we need a existing key pair? So what is a key pair? So this is really important thing to understand. So we're gonna actually, now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a key pair to actually key pair, and then we're gonna use that key pair to connect to the server, because we have our Putty client, right? And we have the server over there. But how do we connect from Putty to the server? Because if we actually open the SSH port, report for everyone, then everyone can access to our server, which is not safe, right? We need some kind of like a safe way to communicate with this, and this is where this key pair is being created, and that thing. So we're gonna use that key pair to actually connect to server. So in the key pair, there is like two key. There is a public key and there's a private key. So the public key, you can consider the public key as like a lock. Like you can consider lock as a private the public key, and private key you can consider this thing as a key. So what happened? Like you put the lock on your door, right? So anyone can see the lock, right? So lock is basically public. So everyone who is walking around, they can see the lock, but nobody can open the lock. To open this lock, you need the key, right? So the private key is basically the key what you only have it with you to open the lock. So this is the simplest explanation of a private key and public key, the concept. So this is what we're going to create. We're creating a key pair. So what's going to happen, that lock, which is the public key, this is assigned on the VM, and now you will download a private key, and that is the key what you're going to actually save on your local machine. And when you actually use the putty to connect to the server, you basically use that private key to connect to the VM. So that's what we're going to do. So cool. So now we're gonna select this one and create a new key pair, and then let's call it like a 3D bootcamp, and this is Canada region, so I'm just gonna call it Canada. Cool. And then I'm gonna click on this button, download key pair. This is really important because if you do not download this key pair, and if you don't save it, you cannot get this key pair, and you cannot get this private key actually again. So if you lose it, then you cannot access to the server. So this is really important. You have to save it very securely. So I'm going to click on that, and it will actually save into my machine. And this is called the same name .pem. So pem is the file name .pem, and we will see we're going to convert the pem to actually another file format, which is the ppk, because Putty actually used ppk. Cool. And then we actually click on the launch instance. Currently block and not recognize a valid account. Oh man, that is not good. Okay. Okay, for some reason we have some issue with this account. I am going to actually sign out from this account. I'm going to log into a different account, and we will do the same thing. Okay, let's try another account. So I have two-factor authentication for that account. Enabled. So let's see. Okay, I hope this account is not blocked. I don't know why this was blocked. Maybe something fishy is going on. Cool. So yeah, let's do this steps real quick. Should not take more than 30 seconds to go to up to that stage. So as always, let's select a different region. Let's choose Canada. And then we're gonna launch an instance. We're gonna select the Ubuntu server, then T2 micro, everything as is, storage is same. We're gonna add a tag. We're gonna call it name, and let's call it same 3D 3-day bootcamp. Security group, add a rule, HTTP, and source is anywhere. Review and launch. Everything is good. Then we click on the launch. Then we're gonna create a new key pair. We're gonna call it like 3D bootcamp underscore Canada. I'm just gonna make sure it doesn't override this one. So I'm gonna remove this actually. Let's just put it somewhere else. So yeah, I'm just gonna download this key pair, which is my new key pair, and then launch the instance. Okay, it's good. Okay. Maybe Iftikhar is doing some hacking over there. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's go to the EC2 instance. Now, if we click on the running, it says 0 running instance, right? So if we click on the 0 running instance, we're gonna see there is this thing is getting launched. So it will take some time to actually launch this, like 3 to 4 minutes to launch this thing. This it's gonna configure that VM is gonna create that image, right? And it's gonna do other stuff. So while this thing is gonna do this thing, this configuration, we're gonna actually set up our Putty and what's the other one? FileZilla. Those two things, right? Cool. So for the Putty, I have already installed. Like my machine has already have Putty and FileZilla installed. So for you guys, how you can do, you can just search for Putty. Okay, actually you're gonna need another software which is called Putty Gen. So you're gonna need 3 software. Okay, I'm just gonna write it on the slide. It's called Putty Gen, Putty and FileZilla. So Putty Gen, if you search for Putty Gen, PUTTYZEN, then you will see there's a first link. It's called Putty Zen. PUTTY Putty Zen. You click on that link, and then you come over here, and there is a Putty's latest update. There you go. Putty Zen, download Putty Zen. Putty Zen. Where is the Putty Zen? Putty Zen on Windows. There you go. So there's a link called download Putty Zen. So click on Putty Zen for Windows, Putty Zen for Mac, Putty Zen for Linux. So you have for all of the environments. So for me, I'm going to click on the Putty Zen from Putty Zen for the Windows, and Putty Zen installation download page. You click on that, and then you come over here, and then I believe they have a link over here. Download solution for Windows. There you go. So Putty is here. Putty 0.3 MSI. Download alternative binary. So binary is here. There you go. So actually, you're gonna need both the Putty and the Putty Zen. So I'm gonna give this link to the Slack. Actually, in the let me put it in the slide, so you guys can, when I will share the slide, you will get it easily. Okay. And then yeah, so if you click on the file putty.exe, which is the SSH client, SSH Telnet client, then it will actually start downloading. Okay, so if you click on the thing, see, I click on that, and click here to download manually, and there you go. It got downloaded putty.exe. Okay, so this is the Putty, and the other one is, if you go back, the other one is the Putty Zen, which is this one, RSA and DSA key generation utility, which is this one, Putty Zen. So you just click on the, if you're a 64-bit machine, if you have a new machine, then use the 64-bit link. So click on the Putty Zen, then it will get downloaded. And then if you double click for the Putty, you don't have to install it. Just if you double click on that, it will just open the software. But at first we need the Putty Zen. So for in my case, I have already installed Putty Zen. So on my machine. So if you search for Putty, I'm going to search the Putty Zen, and it's showing over here. Click on that, it open this app. So this is my Putty Zen application. And then in the application, what I'm going to do, the key what I just grabbed, the PM file, right? So remember, this is the PM file that I have over here. So I'm going to convert that PM file into a PPK file. It's the same file, but I will convert it to PPK because PPK is actually supported by the Putty and the FileZilla. That's why I'm converting it from PM to PPK. So for that, I have to at first load it. So there's a button for load, and click on that. And then I show this file. I believe I have it in the desktop. And then I actually show this. Okay. So one important thing, this is by default, look for all PPK file. So you have to select all files. Select all file, then it will actually show all the files. And then this is the file that we just grabbed from AWS, 3D underscore bootcamp underscore Canada. So double click on that, and it will set it. So successfully imported foreign key. So this is the private key. Cool. So now if we click OK, now this got loaded. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna save private key. So we're gonna actually, if you click on this button called save private key, it is gonna actually save a PPK format. So it says without a passphrase, we don't need it. So we're okay. We're gonna click the yes button. And then for now, I'm just gonna keep it in the same place in desktop, and I'm gonna name it the same, 3D underscore bootcamp underscore Canada. And this is a PPK file. That's why I'm just gonna put the extension .ppk. Cool. So now so this step, what we're doing, we're converting that PM file into PPK file. So now we save it. We don't need particular Zen actually anymore. So we're gonna close this thing. So now we have another application called Putty, right? So Putty is the application what we need to connect my machine to the AWS server, because that's how we're gonna actually make a channel, and then we're gonna run the command what we run on my machine, but it will run actually in the AWS. Cool. So I have so we have downloaded this Putty application, right? So this is over here. So let's actually use this one. So we click on the Putty and see it got open. So I have this thing installed for my it's already installed in my machine. So that's why it's actually showing some older session. So now, how do we connect my local machine to AWS? So that's the thing we're gonna see right now. So let's go back to our AWS console. So yeah, so looks like our machine is running now. The instance state is running, right? And status is good. Everything is good, right? This is the name that we just gave it to them. So that's nice. So now there is one interesting thing. As we see this IPv4 public IP, right? So this IP is being assigned by AWS to us. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, this IP address is assigned by AWS, but AWS doesn't guarantee this will be this is a fixed, this is a static IP. This is not a static IP. AWS doesn't guarantee, so it might change. When it changes, you don't know. So that's the problem, because what will happen on the third day of the bootcamp, you will learn how to actually point a domain name to this IP address, so that when someone actually hit a domain name, it will actually show this web page. So now to configure that one, you need a static IP, because if your IP address change, domain doesn't know like which IP to point. Like it has only in the configuration for the domain, you basically say when someone hit this domain name, then point to this IP address. That is why we need a static IP address. So how can we achieve this one? To achieve this one, AWS has another service on the left panel of this over here. You see there is one called Elastic IPs. So Elastic IP is basically to create a static IP. So let's click on the Elastic IP. So now here's a button called allocate new address. So if you click on this button, AWS will allocate a static IP for you. And then what you have to do, you have to assign that new IP address to that server. So let's do that. So let's click on the allocate new address. So now I'm gonna get it. So allocate new address. So allocate a new IP address by new scope which is used, and then it's just keep this thing as is, and click on allocate, and then your new address is being a new address request succeeded. So now we got a new Elastic IP, which is a, if you click on that close, so we see this is the IP address 5260559098. So our end game or end goal of this class is to, like, if we hit http:// / and then paste that IP address and hit enter, we should see that web page what Iftekhar created yesterday. That should be here, but it's not configured right now. That will happen soon, and Thanos will be murdered soon. And yeah, so now we copy. So now we have to assign. So now we allocate this IP address. So now see this is selected, and there's a button called action. We click on the action button, and then we associate this address. This is the link. We click on the associate address, and if we see this instance, so remember instance is the term that we use on the EC2. So the EC2 is an instance. We click on that. So see, this is our instance. It's already showing over here. So we're gonna assign this IP address to this instance. So the instance is currently have a public IP address which is not a static. So this IP address will be assigned to that instance. So let's click on that and just leave everything as is. Then click associate, and cool, that IP address has been assigned. So now if we click on that, so 52605598, right? So now if we click on the instance to see the list, you see the IP address got changed. Cool. So now we're gonna use this IP address to connect to the AWS. Go back here. So in the Putty, how do we do that? So host name or IP address. So we're gonna actually connect the AWS using the IP address. So we paste the IP address. Okay. And then we want to just save this session. So in case we close the application while we're working, so it doesn't actually, we want to actually save it. I'm just gonna remove my old session. I'm just gonna use the same name. So I'm just gonna give it a name called 3D_bootcamp. And then I am supposed to save it. But before saving, we have to do some more configuration. Remember, we have a we saved a PPK file. We have to show that PPK file in this application so that Putty can actually use that PPK file when it's trying to connect to that AWS VM. So how do we do that? We actually configure it from here. So before saving, just click on the left panel. There's one part called SSH, and there's a plus sign over here. We expand this one, and then there is another one is called auth. Then we just click on the auth. We don't need to expand it. Just click on the auth. And see, there's a box called private key file for authentication. This is the thing that we have to show that file. So we click on the browse, and on the desktop, we just show this PPK file, what we just created from that PM file. So we should show this one. And another thing is actually, there is another section called data over here. So this is optional, but this is, if we do that, then we don't have to like put the authentication name every time we try to log in. So for the VM, the username is Ubuntu, this is assigned by AWS. That's why we're gonna use the Ubuntu. So now if we click on open, then it will actually open that configuration, but we want to save it at first, right? So to save it, scroll up and then click on the session on this thing. And then we hit the save button. So now this configure whole thing is saved under 3D Bootcamp. So now even if you close this thing, you close the Putty, and then you open the Putty again. I have this Putty button over here, which looks like running something. I'm gonna close it. I click on the Putty, and then see this 3D Bootcamp is here. So you just click the 3D Bootcamp, and you click on the open, and that's it. It's now showing that there's this is the first time it's going to show this alert. You will just say yes because you want to connect, and yes, we are connected to our VM. See, it is connected. So now this is a basically terminal, and if we this is like a Linux machine. So in the Linux machine, if we want to see which path you are currently at, you just type the command pwd, and then it will show you are in the /home/Ubuntu location. And if you want to see what are the files on that path, I mean on the directory, then you just press ll, then it will show the list of all the files over here. So what we're gonna do now, we managed to connect to the machine, right? So according to our slide, we have configured partition, we have configured Putty. So now we have to configure FileZilla. Okay, cool. So FileZilla. So what is FileZilla? FileZilla is another FTP file server app. So if you search for FileZilla, 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 then this is the FileZilla, the free FTP solution. Click on that. Actually, you don't need to click on that, but yeah. And see, there's two links. One link is called download FileZilla client, another one download FileZilla server. So we actually need the client. So click on the download FileZilla client, and then you click on that button again, and then you just grab the regular one, FileZilla. That's fine. Please select additional FileZilla client, and then you will actually have this file. And this is like regular software. If you open this file, it's an exe file, and then you will do next. This is simple. I'm not going to show how to install a software like a exe file. So yeah, and I believe and they have support for the Linux, I believe, and so you can get it from there too. So yeah, now I'm gonna open the FileZilla what I have already installed on my machine, which is here. So I open the FileZilla. So if you open, then this is shows something like this. So now we're gonna do the same thing what we did for the Putty. For the Putty, we configured this session other stuff, and we're gonna do the same thing for the FileZilla. So for FileZilla, what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually configure the private key at first, because it has one single location and where we actually do all those configuration. So for that, we actually go to the edit and then settings, local the setting, and then in the settings, if you click on the SFTP under the connection, I already have some private key. I'm just gonna add my new key, what I just created, that new PPK file. I go to the desktop and I show the PPK file what we just created from the PM file, and that's it. We added the PPK file over here. See, Canada PPK. That's it. So we click on the OK. So we added the file. Cool. So now we're gonna connect to our server. So how do we do that? Same thing. See, we have host, username, password, and the port. So for the host, what do we use? We use our new IP address. So we use the IP address. For the username, our username is Ubuntu. Password, we don't need that because the password is basically our private key that we just configured. And port is 22 because that's the SSH port. And then we click on the quick connect. And see, it is trying too many authentication failures. I know why this is, we just copy the whole thing. So it has the SFTP coordinate that. We're just gonna remove this SFTP and port 22 one more time and click on the quick connect button. Should be good. Waiting to retry. And what's happening? Too many authentication failures. Why is it? Okay. It's quite interesting. Let's try to, okay. So instead of quick connect, let's just close this file open one more time to get a fresh start. So let's actually click on this button on the top left and create a new site. I'm gonna create a new site, and then instead of FTP, we're gonna actually use SFTP. We're gonna paste that IP address. We're gonna use the port number 22. Log in as normal. We use Ubuntu. And let's try to say okay. It's saving, and now it's a new site that's been configured. And then if we try to connect, what's happening? Server send disconnect message. Too many authentication. PPK, PPK. I believe we have the right PPK. Okay. I think there's some issue with the PPK. You know what? I'm just gonna move that PPK from my desktop into another place. No, I don't think it should be a problem. Okay, let's go back here. Let's click on the settings. And SFTP. PPK is here. I'm just gonna remove this one. Remove key. Add key file. It's in the code. I'm just gonna add this PPK. Open. Yeah, 3D Bootcamp Canada. Should be good. Let's try it one more time. Oh, that's weird. Too many authentication fail. If the server is down for some reason, let's do a quick check. No, the server looks up. What about the Putty? Yeah, Putty is up too. This is really weird. Accepted. Something is wrong with that PPK file because we have another server which is kind of working. '22. Wow, that's weird. Server send disconnect message. Something happened with the PPK file.
Saqib, is it because you converted the key from the first Amazon account?
I don't think so because I'm using the same PPK file for the Putty. For the Putty is working. Let me just try to add this PM. Something is not right. Yeah, something is not right. Okay. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna actually I can create another server, but you know what? I'm gonna create that PPK file one more time. Let's do this because we have the PM file, right? So you know what? This kind of things happen in life. So you gotta like be careful when you're doing stuff. So this is the PM file that we just we created right earlier. So I think, is there any other? No, that's the only one I believe. So I'm just gonna copy this one and put it into somewhere else. So let's just create a folder here. And paste it here. So to the Putty, load that file. The code. Bootcamp. All files. It got added. Let's save it in the same place. Code bootcamp. Let's call it bootcamp.ppk. Save this one. Got it here. So now we open the FileZilla, and then we just click on Edit Settings, SFTP. There's two files. Let's just remove these two files to make sure this doesn't cause an issue. Yeah, everything should be okay. Add new key. So what is that? Yeah, maybe I have a feeling because I have the same name. GMH. Oh, okay, let's try this. So let's go to the code and then code bootcamp. Then we're going to choose the bootcamp.ppk. It is added over here. And let's hit OK. Click on there. And this should be it. Actually, this is FTP. Wait a minute, I think this is FTP. Let's try to connect. FTP, oh, no, it's not FTP, it's FTP. Sorry, cancel. Not FTP, this is SFTP. 422. Okay, all good. Let's connect. Oh, good. Cool. So yeah, this kind of thing happened. So maybe there's some issue while we convert that PM file to PPK. So something got messed up. So it worked for Putty, but it didn't work for FileZilla. So if this same thing happened for you guys as well, so yeah, I mean, try to recreate the PPK file. It should fix the issue. Oh, awesome. So yeah, now let's actually open the Putty as well. And Putty, we have this 3D bootcamp. If we double click on that, it's gonna open the Putty. And yeah, Putty is using the other PPK and FileZilla is using the new one. So it's a mystery, but yeah, this thing can happen to you. So now, if we are in the Putty, if we see write pwd, hit enter, you will see it's a home. We're on the home Ubuntu, and also here we're also in the home Ubuntu, right? So now if we click on ll, and it gives you the list of all the files, and this is actually the list of all the files. So that's basically Putty is actually our Putty is actually the SSH client, which is we're actually having a command line prompt, and then actually this is like a GUI interface. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna actually create a folder over here using the FileZilla. So we're gonna right click over here and just create a directory. We're gonna contact WEB web just to make a folder, and then if we double click on that, we get inside there. So now what we have in my desktop, I have a folder, I believe. If I just minimize everything, the FileZilla, Putty, this one, that one. So this is the 3D bootcamp folder, and in this folder I have a folder called dist. So this is the folder what Iftekhar provided me. So all of this file is actually it got generated when Iftekhar actually run that command ng build dash prod. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put all of this file into my FileZilla. So it's pretty easy. That's why we're using FileZilla. It's basically we select all of them, and then we drag and drop it over here. So now what's gonna happen? This is gonna upload all of the files. See, all of the files are uploaded on this folder, and we can see this thing if you go to the Putty. So now if we type ll, then we'll see there's a new folder called web is here. And then if we want to go inside that folder, then we use the command cd. Cd means change directory. And then we put a space, and then we type that name of the folder, which is WEB web, and then hit enter. So now we are inside the web string over here. So now if we do ll, then we will see all the files are over here. Cool. So now we have got all of our code into our AWS server. Nice, right? So now we have to install the nginx, because nginx is the server which is gonna host our application. So how do we install nginx? It's pretty simple. At first we have to update our system. So let's go back. So for that we just type there's a command. It's called apt get update, but because we are not in the root user, we have to type another command called sudo apt get update. If we hit that command, then it will actually update all the Ubuntu's installation registry. Basically it's kind of like updating all the path, all the file and stuff like our what's example. So see, it's getting update is done. So now we use the same command sudo apt-get. Then earlier we use update. Now we're gonna call the command install, and then we're installing nginx. That's the command sudo apt-get install nginx. So nginx, we're installing nginx. Hit enter. Then it's gonna do some stuff. It's asking, do you want to continue? Yes, we do. Enter, and it should be done in a second, couple of seconds. And it is doing some stuffs. When it's gonna done, then it's gonna say a message called done. Thank God it was not stuck. Okay, cool. So this is actually finished. So now the test, right? Nginx is installed. How do we know? So now let's go to our browser. And as we promised, if our server is running, then if we hit that IP address, we should see something, because Nginx runs actually on port 80. So if we go to this space 52605598, which is our IP address, oh, it got automatically refreshed. And see, welcome to Nginx. So Nginx got installed. So Nginx is running onto our server, and our server can listen to port 80, which is why my browser can hit that port, and you're seeing this basic page. So now we want to replace this space with our stuff, right? So now let's go back to our Putty. So in the Putty, what we do, we have to go to that folder where this Nginx basic page resides. And that page is actually in this folder. So we do cd, means change directory, and then we go to the /var, then /www, and then /html. So this is the folder where or that file is resided. We hit enter and then put ll is for list. Then we can see this is the file, that index.nginx-debian.html. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove this file. So how do we remove the file? Because we need a special permission, we have to use the sudo command, sudo, then rm is for rm for remove, and then r-rf is we are actually rf, I think it's a force or something force. Is for we're forcing everything to delete, and then we hit star means everything. So we are actually removing all the files on the current folder. We hit enter, and then if we hit ll, then we see there is no folder here. To confirm, if we go back here and if we refresh this page, then it says fully forbidden because there is no file here. Oh, so now what we want to do, we want to copy that file of those files from that folder, that web folder, into this folder, which is pretty simple. We just run sudo and then we write the command copy, and all of our files are actually, remember, like when we type pwd, it was showing the current path. So that was /home/ubuntu. We're going to use the same path, /home/ubuntu, and in the web. So we want to copy all the files, right? So we're going to put a star. If we do star, so it means all the files of that folder in space. And then if we use dot, so dot means the current location. So we are copying all the files from home ubuntu/web/star, and then we put a space and then put a dot means current folder, and then we hit the enter, and that's boom. If we do ll, then there you go. All the files are here. So now if we go back to our browser, finger crossed, let's see whether we managed to kill Thanos or not. And yay, the Thanos is murdered. Cool. So yeah, all of the pages what Iftekhar created. Okay, yeah. So yeah, all of the pages what Iftekhar created on the other day is actually running under this IP address. So that is the end of today's basically class. Uh, so we actually configure all the things, and if we see, so for the homework, basically you have to sign up a new AWS account, and you have to launch a T2 micro EC2 instance, and then you do all the step what I did, and then you run the previously built portfolio app inside the EC2 instance, and then configure the elastic IP so that your IP has a static IP. And then after you've done all those things, you will have an IP address. So you just grab that IP address and post it into our homework session, and homework group session. I mean that group Slack group. That will be it. And yeah, that will be it. And for the tomorrow's class, our mentor Sajid will show you how to actually point a domain name to this IP address. So whenever you want to hit that domain name, it will actually show this space. So yeah, that's it. That's it from today. I'll just hand over the mic to Siam. So yeah, cool. Peace.
Hey, thank you, Sakibu. It was great. I I honestly feel like I was kind of in a cliffhanger for a while. Especially like it got stuck a couple times. But good job on your students were really rooting for you, man. Like I think there are at least 50 name suggestions, so it will be like we'll have to do a poll on which one goes through. But there are like some really good ones coming. Yeah, so basically, thanks a lot, everyone, for attending this session. We'll go through the question and answer. We'll answer some of the question from previous class as well. And yeah, whatever questions you have for the class right now, we'll go through those. Before that, I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of like a movement we are trying to start. And yeah, and how like definitely looking forward to suggestion from you guys on how we can do that. Let me see if I'm like functioning properly. Let me spotlight. Is it? Oh, I think I wasn't probably. Okay, let me see if I am.
By the way, I'm gonna miss the YouTube chat today.
Yes, it was good, man. The YouTube chat was so good. Okay, I think I was just talking, but my video wasn't in focus, but it's okay. So, all right, guys. So I'll just do a quick presentation. Let me see. Go to the. All right. So whereas we'll go to the question and answer session within like 2 minutes. I just wanted to finish what I started before the class. That why are we doing this workshop is the end goal is to we wanted to start a movement. That's like kind of like the end goal. I mean, beyond killing Thanos and all these things Sakib has in his mind. So and how to we have kind of like designed a mechanism on how to do that. As I said, like in a 3 days workshop, it's very difficult to like sustainably teach anything to anyone. We do have a full-sized boot camp, and we designed it in a way like what we wanted to do is that through this workshop, we wanted to inspire you guys by when you see that you build something. And I know that you guys are smart, so you guys can definitely figure out there are tons of resources online, free resources online. I'll just talk a little bit about our bootcamp, which is also one of the resources. Feel free to check it out. But beyond that, I just wanted to talk about like how to kind of like create a movement and how we designed our bootcamp, obviously through all these learnings of all these years. So these are the 5 steps, right? So and like definitely feel free to suggest us any kind of feedback on how we can improve or like actually make this eventual goal successful, that anyone can jump into programming from any kind of background, and also like doing something together makes the goal more successful. So step one, it's very simple, is the learning. So it's basically, these are the exact steps we replicate in our bootcamp. So when someone gets into our bootcamp, the first phase we go through is the learning phase. So for teaching someone something, we do one-to-one sessions individually, like make it customized. And we also go through group sessions where, as you can see, Iftekhar did one class, Sakib did another class. So usually the class size are like 8 to 10 students, and these are conducted in Zoom. So this is the first stage, which is the learning stage. That's like stage one. The second stage is building. I think this is the primary value I think our bootcamp provides, is that once we basically measure the performance of the students for 1 or 2 months. When we realize that they're doing recently good, or they have some basic level background, we basically pull them into building our internal product. So we have an internal product which we are building for the bootcamp. So here, this is the place where basically someone like the student, like the learning goes into implementation. So the student learns on how to work with other developers, how to work in Git, how to work with a project manager. So basically kind of like a simulation of a real life work environment. The next stage is that once that part is done, we basically showcase the students, basically the portfolio. So brush up their resume, brush up their LinkedIn, make sure that their communication style is good. We do mock interviews so that we make sure that they're like presentable in front of the employers. Selling is a very important part. I know a lot of like developers, even when I was younger, I wasn't as good in selling my own portfolio, which is like a different skill to learn. So we teach that, like, just to showcase and make sure that your online portfolio is strong. And then finally is the retention. So once someone gets a job, our bootcamp or the relationship with the bootcamp doesn't end. We basically help them retain in the job. So help them that if they're getting stuck in the job, if they're facing any difficulty, we make sure that we are solving those problems as well, and to make sure that they're not getting fired. So that's like, I would say, like stage 4. And then the 5th stage is replicate. So replicate means like once they go through the financial obligations they have with our bootcamp, I'll talk about it just in the next slide. We expect that they also like just do the same thing to someone else as we did to them. So after they go through the financial obligation, we kind of like, it's not a requirement, but it's like they can become mentors. Like we are mentors in the bootcamp. They can also become mentors, and they can also guide someone into this whole, I would say, like whole chain of helping each other, and whole chain of just like propagating this knowledge, and just sharing this expertise. So that's the last part. Now, how we work is that we are like very different from a lot of other bootcamps in a way that we designed, since our main goal is to make sure that a lot of people can just get into software and just get into like full stack development and just like getting into the technology field. We realize that we cannot bring in people like Sakib or Iftekhar or many other people. Like tomorrow we'll bring a mentor from Microsoft. We cannot bring these people in. These are working professionals unless we have a sustainable model. So we designed a model where we know that you guys, or like anyone who is trying to get into programming, they are cash strapped. So they don't have any money to get into these expensive boot camps. So we kind of like designed the system where we are like investing our time and effort on them, so that the students, once they succeed, only then they share their results. So that it becomes a kind of like a self-fulfilling machine. So definitely check our website out. It's very clear, like and obviously check out all the online resources, search the web. The primary reason we came up with like this model is we obviously have like a upfront payment, which is also very minimum if you compare with any other bootcamp. But we basically want for most of the people to go through this pay after you get a job. That makes the movement more altruistic, which is like basically our primary motivation, just to keep doing this. And obviously for the sustaining reason, we designed this structure. So yeah, and And we do have like 3 tracks primarily, which is the full stack. Full stack has the front end, which is like Angular and other front end languages. Back end is Java, and then we have DevOps. So these are all in the full stack. And then we have applied machine learning. We have a lot of mentors from computer vision. We primarily teach C++ and Python. So yeah, so these are our applied machine learning tracks. We have the algorithms and data structures track, which is basically, I think you guys probably know that most of the big tech companies, they have like a hard, like rigorous selection procedure for the coding challenges round, like the tech round. And we basically go through the data structures and algorithm problems and just practice it together so that people can crack especially the top tech companies, the FANG companies. So yeah, so these are the tracks. I wanted to say that there is our membership style, or as you can see that there is no upfront cost, but beyond that is that your relationship is not getting with us. It's not per track. Once you are in, it's like a gym membership. So once you are in, you can choose as many tracks as you want. You can choose 1, you can choose 3. Like you can mix and match. Obviously, we recommend doing 1 and then getting into a job. And then while you're in the job, you can learn other tracks because you're still with the bootcamp while you're in the job. So, but it's more like once you're in the community, you are in the community. And as I said, like once you are done with the financial obligation after the job, you can come back and become mentors and just pay it forward. So yeah, we have like definitely you guys are smart. So feel free to check it out. I think I can wrap up my side of the things here, like my responsibility. But yeah, like we have a next cohort starting on November 25th, which is our full stack cohort. So feel free to apply. Just check out our website and email us if you have any questions. Yeah, I think I can do the question and answer session now. So let me stop sharing my screen. And Saqib, are you ready? We'll go through the names later on, Saqib. So I'll actually ask some of the questions from last, I would say like yesterday, because we were kind of like running late yesterday. We're kind of running late today as well, but I do not want to keep Iftikhar waiting. So okay, no, I think guys, by the way, if you have any question for like Iftikhar is also present, he's around. So like if you guys have any question from previous homework, if you're stuck, definitely feel free to ask those. Right now, I'm just looking at our Slack channel, internal Slack channel, where we have like all the questions written, collected from all these students. So the first question would be asked by Ryan: are we launching a VM with EC2? That's the first question, Saqib.
Yeah, it is actually a VM. Like EC2 is basically you are launching an instance of EC2, and it is actually a VM. And while we actually launch the VM, we choose the operating system. So yeah, it is a VM.
Okay, all right. I'll jump into the next question. Darren Lewis, I already have Putty configured for a DigitalOcean server. Will this create issues?
I don't think so, because DigitalOcean has a different server and this is AWS server. So as I told you, like when you create the key pair, so key pair is like a public key and private key combination, right? So the public key is the lock and the private key is the key. So that public key is actually attached with the server. So and you actually have the private key, which is the key to open the lock. So that shouldn't be a problem. You should have it's like a separate lock and key pair that you just created, and you're gonna actually configure the Putty for a different session. So it shouldn't be a problem.
All right. So then thank you, Saqib. So the next question is asked by Ryan: difference between servers with Ubuntu/Windows.
So this is Ubuntu is basically a Linux server, and Windows is actually has their own server. So that is the Windows server. So that's basically a Linux machine and a Windows machine. That's the difference. So it's basically the operating system. You got a VM, but it's actually you decide like which operating system to choose. So for developers, actually prefer Linux machine, because Linux has more security, more easy to actually maintain those code, and it's like lightweight. So in generally DevOps, people actually choose uh, Linux machine. For this case, we actually chose Ubuntu, which is a version of the Linux.
Okay, awesome. We are going to run like 10 more minutes of question, and then we have a hard stop in 10 minutes. But Hari Krishnan, I am on Manjaro Linux. I won't require Putty, right? SSH is supported by default on Linux.
Yeah.
So what
So for the Linux, user, I believe the SSH is already built in, already installed. If you're also a Mac user, so the SSH is also installed. You just need to, I believe, just search for how to log in using SSH in Mac. Then you should see in the online, like I believe you have to pass a parameter of the path for the private key, like SSH that thing, and then I think there's -i or something. I forgot the exact command. But if you search in Google, then you can easily find the command to actually uh, connect to the SSH from a Linux machine or like a Mac machine.
Okay, sweet. All right, so the next one would be Carlos. How to install Putty and Putty Gen to convert the PM file on a Mac.
Okay, so as I told you, like when we were installing Partisan, you will see there is like a 3 version. Like it was available for both Linux, Mac, and Windows. So you have to install the Partisan for the Mac, and then you can convert it using that. So the UI should be similar, I believe.
Okay. Question from Milo. What is the correct import syntax and or location?
I didn't get the question. What is the correct?
Oh, sorry. Like I think there is a. Oh, I might have to share the screen. Let me share my screen. By the way, guys, ask the questions in Slack right now. YouTube chats are difficult to follow, but yeah. This is the question asked by Milo. Can you see the screenshots?
Yeah, I can see the screen.
It's probably difficult to.
I think this is an Angular question.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an Angular question. Maybe later on, you can paste that error in the Slack group, and maybe someone from the group or sticker can answer that thing.
Okay, sounds good. No problem. So, all right. The next question is Elastic IP part of the free tier? Niraj asked this question.
Yeah, Elastic IP should be free, but you cannot like leave it after you create that Elastic IP. You have to use it. You have to assign it to an instance. If you don't assign it, I believe there is a charge. But if you leave it unassigned, then there is a charge. But if you assign it, then there is no charge, as far as I know.
All right, cool. Atari asked, what operating system would I use to start learning programming? Atari, you should use Atari. Anyway, sorry. What operating system should we use? Like
This is a totally personal preference. I'm not gonna comment on that. I mean, whatever you feel like. I mean, I use all. I use Mac. I use Windows. I use Linux, and I'm not actually rooting for anyone. I mean, whenever I need to design something, I prefer Windows. Whenever I actually need to like I want to break my keyboard, I use Linux or Mac. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you have some names for breaking your keyboards as well. Saki boom. Anyway, so Kawaljit Singh, why isn't the IP address static by default when creating an instance? Yeah, that's the question.
You gotta ask this question to Jeff Bezos, I believe. It's not me to answer. I mean, this is how the AWS design it. So whenever you actually create a new server, it automatically assigns an IP address. And to me, I think this is because they don't want to actually because having an IP address, static IP address, is costly. So that's why they don't want to actually assign a static IP address if we don't need it. Because not a lot of people actually use this thing for the public facing application, right? A lot of application are actually internal application. That's why having a non-static IP address can actually work for 80% of the world case, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I think we can do 3 more questions and we'll talk about homework and then we'll end this session. We have like 5 minutes to wrap it up. What is exactly the homework? Okay, we'll go to the question later on. Sajjad Hussain asked, can we use Firebase for clouding?
Firebase for clouding. Firebase is not something. Firebase is actually a different thing. AWS has similar kind of thing like called Cognito. Firebase is a kind of like a database, or it's like an authentication tool. This is not actually a cloud platform. So this is a service provided by Google. So this is a part of the GCP. So GCP provides other computing tools like I forgot the name. So you can use GCP computing tool as well, but Firebase is not to actually meet this need.
Yes, and I'll add to the answers with Saqib. All you said is right. Firebase is basically a backend as a service. So basically, there are a lot of front-end developers who do not want to go through the hassle of like deployment in the backend. So Firebase is just like basically just a front end, and they're kind of like outsourcing the entire backend as a service. There are like multiple options, like alternatives for Firebase as well. Ruli asked, if we want to install DB like Mongo, do we deploy it inside EC2 also, or create another instance?
That's a really good question. It's a really interesting question as well. Like, I mean, you can definitely actually install Mongo inside an EC2, but the question is, should you do that? Because nowadays there are lots of MongoDB services available. Like you can actually search for MongoDB as a service, then you will find there are lots of services. One service is provided by the Mongo company as well. That's called Atlas, Mongo Atlas. So you don't. So if you use Mongo Atlas, it automatically got replicated. It automatically maintained the database, and it automatically is fault tolerance. It can create the backup. So you don't have to like, because if you install Mongo inside EC2, then you have to do all this stuff. Okay, so now if you use Atlas, then everything is maintained. And the good thing about Atlas is that they have a free tier as well. Like for the fast 500 Mbps of data, that account is free. So you can actually use a Mongo Atlas for free. You can start as a free. Like I actually use all of my small like pet project in Mongo Atlas. So I would definitely recommend Mongo Atlas for this kind of work.
Okay, sweet. So last question, Saqib, what is exactly the homework for tomorrow? If you can share that with us.
Okay, so the homework is exactly what I did like today. So you have to like configure the app what you created on the Iftakers class, and then host that application into an AWS instance. So you have to create an EC2 instance, and that if you use T2 Micro, it will be totally free for 1 year, considering this is a new account. So if you don't have a new account, create a new account, then you will get it to like a free for 12 months. Then create an EC2 instance and create that instance as a T2 Micro, and then host that application. And after you host the application and configure the Elastic IP, just share that IP address on the homework group, and that's it. That's it for the homework.
Yep, that's pretty much it for the homework, and see you guys tomorrow again. The mentor will be from Microsoft. We'll just talk about launching your online portfolio and some more stuff. And like, if you like this series, this is the first time we're doing. If you like this series, if you want us to do it every month, support us in Patreon. I know that you guys are probably kind of like students, so no pressure if you cannot. But yeah, if you want us to do more of this, support us in Patreon or PayPal. But yeah, I would like to thank Saqib and everyone else basically for listening with us, and especially like cheering for Saqib when like things were going south. I was for a moment like, okay, all right, this is happening like day one. But it was good save, Saqib, and thanks a lot everyone for watching, and thanks a lot Saqib and everyone who worked on the back end for making this successful.
Cool. Thanks a lot, guys.
Okay,
Have
bye.
a good day.
Very good day.